Hello everyone, it's Jose again. So in this video, I want to summarize how to do a database research for Essay 2. So as you see my screen, I have the directions to do this, and this is all in a handout that you can find on Canvas. And it gives you directions on how to find a source, what you should be putting in the boxes, and then what you should be saving. So this is all in relationship to Essay Assignment 2, Creating Your Own Tome and Argument, which asks, through outside research, explore how a specific group or culturally sensitive issue is represented in mainstream media. And it gives me a couple of questions to consider. So how have media representations presented problematic stereotypes of this group? So that's a question I need to focus on. And this is going to be really important for me when I do my research. I need to consider these things as I start looking for articles, because already I want to have it in my brain, in my mind, oh, this is going to be a good source to answer this question. Now I also want to focus on this question as well. How have media representations presented accurate information that acknowledges the complexities of this group? Now these are very broad questions, but once I figure out what topic I want to explore, then I'll be able to come up with more specific answers that relate to a topic that I want to focus on. So going back to this, I'm just going to show you how I would do research in terms of finding an article. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to our Long Beach City College homepage, go to Academics, where it says Library, scroll down to where it says Search for Articles, and the database that you're supposed to use is EBSCOhost. Now there are countless other databases that you can use, and there are really a ton, but for the purposes of this essay, focus on EBSCOhost. That doesn't mean the other ones aren't any good. It's just this is the source that I use the most, so I consider it a pretty trustworthy source. So sometimes it's going to prompt you to put in some information, so you do that, and now you're at the database. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Advanced Search, because I'm going to set some parameters for my search. So I'll need these 3 boxes to help me out. The next thing I want to do is put full text, scholarly articles, just so I can get the actual PDF. I want to make sure the article is available. And then the final thing I want to do is set sort of a time frame for the publication date. Now a good rule of thumb is to use sources that are current, so no older than 5 years or more. But for this essay, I'm going to give everybody in the class an exception of 10 years. So you get 10 years to focus on your essay. So I'm going to put 2010 all the way to 2020. So now I'm ready to do my search. Now remember the essay prompt is about media representation, and I do want to focus it on the US. So I'm going to start typing some stuff. Media, as you can see, EBSCOhost is already starting to give me suggestions. So I really like this one. Media representation or media portrayal or news media or mass media discourse. Perfect. That's the one I want. Now let's say at this point I don't have a topic and I don't know what to choose from. So I'm going to just put minorities. Okay, so minorities or ethnic groups or racial. And just see what comes up. Just to see what comes up. And then I want to give myself another filter. So let's say I put USA. Okay, so this is great. Just to kind of focus it on US media. So now all my things are filtered. So I have about 300 articles that I can choose from. And I'm going to focus right now by just reading the titles of these articles. So the way I do research is that I'll look at a title, and if for whatever reason it just captivates my interest, I'm going to focus on that article as a possible source to use. So I look at this article. It's about law enforcement, related deaths in the US, vital statistics, news media-based data sources. I don't think it's going to help me answer the prompt, so I'm going to move forward. I look at this article, title, same thing. This one looks really interesting. Making the invisible a visible problem, the representation of Chinese illegal immigrants in US newspapers. This seems really relevant to my topic. So what I like to do is I open the link in a new tab. So you see it's already saving it on my computer right here. So I can still stay to my result list, but then I'll have these other sources saved up. I have another article here Framing and Reframing the 1992 LA Riots, a study of minority issues framed by the Los Angeles Times. I think so, but you know what? I want to focus on something more current, so I'm going to move on. The Cultural Production of Mexican Identity in the United States, an examination of Mexican threat narrative. This seems really interesting, and I think this idea right here. So remember, I have my prompt in mind. I have the questions I want to answer. Mexican threat narrative. If I go back to my prompt, this seems like a source that would help me answer that prompt, at least in terms of the first question. What problematic negative stereotypes does the media portray of certain groups? So I'm going to click on this link, and I'm going to leave it right there. Let's see if I can find another one. Oh, here's another one. The Black Lives Matter movement, crime and police brutality, comparative study of New York Post and Daily News. This is interesting. I think this is another article that would definitely sort of relate specifically to the essay itself that we're working on. So I have these three sources, and I'm going to stop here. And now the second thing I'm going to do as these sources load is look at some of the summaries of these sources to see if I want to spend more time reading them. So something that's really great about the databases, and one reason why I want you to use the databases, is one, they help you filter out sources and find really good quality sources. So in this case, I'm looking for scholarly peer-reviewed journals. I'm looking for mostly academic articles. So these are sources that have a lot of value in terms of the evidence they use, how much they've embedded in terms of the quality of research that they've done. So they're really good in terms of presenting their opinion. So I want to use these sources as starting my research. So now that I'm here and I found three sources to help me out, I'm going to read this helpful thing. It's called an abstract, and it's basically a summary of the source. And this is really helpful for people doing research, because if you read the summary, you get a sense of whether you want to dedicate time reading this source, or maybe move on to a source that you really want to dedicate that more directly relates to the prompt. So this essay, the person writes that they examined how Chinese illegal immigrants were represented by U.S. newspapers between 2000 and 2010. That's an excellent topic for this essay. So this source is perfect. It totally relates. And they discover 4 themes. Okay, illegalizing the other. Okay, so these are all really relevant things that would help me answer some of the questions for essay prompt 2. So this is a possible source, but I kind of want to wait and see what the other sources say. This is the one that really caught my attention. So I'm going to look at the abstract again, just to kind of show you. And I'm just going to skim read through some of these aspects to see whether I want to read the source or not. So this paper examines how the cultural production of Mexican identity in the U.S. Processes a Mexican threat narrative in American public's mind. Whoa! So this is so interesting. I can connect with this subject because I have an experience of immigration coming to this country. So I think this is a source that I really want to focus on for my essay. So let's just say, for the sake of this video, this is a source I want to use. Here's what I'm going to do next. What I love about the databases is that they have a cite feature. So if I click on the cite feature right here, you can see it's going to give me an MLA works cited entry for the source. And this is really handy. You want to have these sources saved ahead of time so that when it comes time to putting your essay together, you can then just kind of copy and paste it. You don't have to return to finding it. So I know that. So I'm just going to go to email, and I'm going to email this to myself, and I'm going to fill out all this information, and I'm going to change the citation format to MLA. And here's my source emailed to myself. So I filled out that information, and as you can see, I get a copy of the source as an HTML document. I also get a copy of that source in PDF form, and in that email I also get the works cited entry. So this is all very handy for me when I write my essay for essay 2. So I encourage you to do the same when it comes to researching an outside source. Go to EBSCOhost, find a peer-reviewed scholarly article, and then read it and start finding a topic for your essay. Okay, thank you. I look forward to reading what you write.